Hey everybody, welcome to another session of me just working on a little bit of a watercolor. I really just wanted to take a little bit of time and I decided to use some of my watercolor paper that I have. It's an HQ fine stroke. That's a 300 GSM. The pages are 5 by 5 inches. 5.5 inches by 8.5 inches. I love this paper. It's really nice for mixed media. It's got a really nice strength to it, and I'm just able to put on all the layers that I need to do. So here I'm just working on that watercolor starting, and I had kind of the intention of doing it mixed media, either putting gouache on top and or colored pencils, just kind of seeing how I felt it was needed. Now for the sky, I did the wet on wet technique for watercolor, so that's where I just wet the page first and then I went back in with my color. Really helps the color be able to have a kind of smooth gradient and to go on in what I kind of deem as like a foggy or cloudy kind of way, which I think is really nice when you're doing something more like the sky that's a lot more clear and no harsh lines. And then for the water and any of the greenery, I did more of a wet on dry technique, especially for the water on the bottom. I wanted to leave a good amount of white space as a reflection, and then used just different layering techniques for the greenery and the clouds and different definitions. I really wanted to have these pieces to be similar but not the exact same, and I wanted to use inspiration from other art pieces and artists that I like. I have a couple different art books in my office that I like to use just when I'm going through. So I used Samuel Coleman's piece called Crossing the Plains, and I really like his piece mainly because the colors are very blended together. They're very pretty, but you can still tell what it is, and it's just so peaceful and really, really gorgeous. And then I also used Francesco Guardi, his Canal Grande with San Simone Piccolo. Hope I said that right. Probably didn't. In his piece, the features are a lot more defined, but the colors and even his technique with the sky is very similar to what I was trying to go for. And I also used Antonio Canaletto, the Basin of San Marco on Ascension Day. Same kind of process. He also has very detailed work, but I really liked the colors and I liked the layout of the pieces, and so I kind of used all three of those as my inspiration. When working through this piece, there's a lot of just kind of seeing where things go. I've been kind of in a weird art rut recently. Not a whole lot of things have been inspiring me, or I see things and I think they're beautiful and I want to try them, but then I think I set in my brain way too unrealistic expectations for where I currently am, and not to the point where like, oh, I can never do this, but more of that's just not where my skill level is, and not accepting that and allowing myself that grace of, okay, well, you're learning, so practice. And so trying to work through that and allow myself to have that grace. And so I use this just kind of as a reset, going back to things that I love. I love watercolor and I love gouache. I think gouache is great to go on top of watercolor, just to kind of have a little bit more strength and a more punch, I would say, to my pieces. And I really just enjoyed it overall. So, take a look at this, watch me through my process as I kind of work through and I layer the different things. By the end of it, I ended up not using colored pencils. I did use gouache and I did use watercolor, obviously, but I decided not to go in with any more details with my colored pencils. That was just kind of a personal preference for this piece. But in the end, I really love them. I like the fact that I have two pieces that are similar to each other, but not the exact same. There's some variation in that, and I really enjoyed it, and I'm excited to hopefully invest more time into studying different techniques that I struggle with and different mediums and subjects and etc. But I really enjoyed this just kind of as a way to enjoy a weekend and kind of get back into the group of things. I hope that you enjoy looking at this and enjoy the finished product as it's coming up.